Hi, this is a video about the overview of the whole USMLE process to give you an idea about the timeline, the costs, and also just so you know what I'm doing right now. If you're new here, my name is Aura and I make videos for aspiring Filipino doctors. And if you're studying med school in the Philippines or any other country outside the US, then yes, you can still do your residency training or fellowship training in the US. You don't have to go back to med school, you just have to take all the exams that the American medical graduates are taking and basically go through the same process that they're going through. So that's what I'm gonna explain in this video. So far, my journey has been I graduated med school in 2016 and then I did my postgraduate internship and then I studied and took and passed the local boards, and after that I became a general physician. And then I applied for a US tourist visa and then I went to the US and I started studying for my USMLE Step 1 exam. I went back to the Philippines, contemplated a bit if I'm gonna push through this journey, and I decided that yes, I will. And so I spent the next few months cramming everything, the Step 2 exams, the written and the practical, my clinical observerships also, and all the other requirements, just so I can make it in time for the application, which starts September. I passed 71 applications for one specialty only, and I'm lucky to have been invited to 6 programs. So I went to all the interviews, and now that that part is over, the waiting game for me officially begins. I will find out the result, whether I get accepted or not, in March. It's been a long journey so far, and what I will say from the get-go is that this whole USMLE journey is a gamble. Like, sugal talaga. You know, you can pass all the requirements, you can spend thousands of dollars on the exams, your reviewers, your US clinical experience. You can sacrifice so much, your personal time, your time with your loved ones, your relationships. You will also have to say no to other career opportunities, and it's still possible that you won't get accepted. And yes, that's the worst case scenario. I'm starting with that. Sugal talaga. So you have to be all in. Okay? All in. Remember, pinakamadaling sumuko kapag nahihirapan na. And mahihirapan ka talaga sa simula pa lang. So right now that I'm filming this video, I'm just in the waiting game. So many people helped me and I did my very best. So whether I match or not, whether it's this year or not, I know that it's God's plan. I just want to remain hopeful and patient and faithful that what's meant for me will not pass me by. So with that said, let's get started. So let's define some terms and try to compare the road to MD for American students and for Filipino students. So for us Filipinos, we go to med school 4 years and then we're required to do 1-year internship before we can take the one local board exam. It's just one exam for us. And then after that, you're a general physician, you can do whatever you want, you can apply for residency, you can do whatever. And then for American students, they go to med school 4 years also. After second year med, they take the Step 1 exam. It's an 8-hour long exam, multiple choice, all about the basic medical subjects. And then for third year and fourth year, I believe they do their clinical rotations. That's also the time they take the Step 2 exams. Step 2 has 2 parts. There's a clinical knowledge written exam, also multiple choice, but it's 9 hours this time, and a practical exam, that's the clinical skills. So those are their requirements for them to become an MD. And then for them, they don't have to do 1 year of internship because their first year residency is considered their internship. So first year residents are called interns. And another major difference is that for us Filipinos, if you want to apply for residency, you have to go to hospitals on your own, submit your applications personally, whereas in the US, it's all centralized. They have this thing called the match process. All the requirements are just submitted online. And what are those requirements? The Step 1, Step 2 CK, Step 2 CS scores. And aside from that, you also have to submit a personal statement, letters of recommendation, a dean's letter, even a professional headshot. Yeah, and then you just select from a list all the hospitals that you want to submit those requirements to, and then you hope and you pray that you get invited for an interview. Now let's talk about the timeline. Every year, the deadline for all these requirements is September 15 if you want to start residency by next year, July 1st. So if you're a foreign graduate, then you have to have all your scores in by September 15, and then October, November, December, January is the interview season. For me, I received my first invite late September and my last invite around late November. I did all of my interviews only in November and December. And then by February, as an applicant, you have to rank all those programs. And then the training programs also rank all the applicants that they interviewed, and then we submit it all online. And then there's this thing called the match algorithm. The match is like a computerized algorithm that makes sure that each applicant matches with his or her most preferred program, but you can only match if that program also likes you back. It's simple once you understand it, but complicated to explain, so please look at the video on the description. Basta all applicants will find out the result of this match in March, sabay-sabay, all at once. And then you fix all visas and documents and try to settle in your new place because residency starts July 1st. Oh, haba. Okay, so if you've heard about Step 3 exam, you don't have to worry about that yet because you don't need that to apply for residency, but you have to pass it during internship year or PGY1. And then, for example, you want to do fellowship, then by third year of residency, you repeat this whole process. There's also a fellowship match. But you don't have to do fellowship. You can just finish your residency and start practicing in the US. Or if you're a foreign grad, then you can go back to your home country because, well, I asked, the residency training in the US is recognized in the Philippines. And no matter what, I can practice in the Philippines because I passed the local board exam already. Now, if I want to stay in the US, and since I'm not a US citizen, my visa would be J1 or an exchange visitor program visa. Or for some, they have H1B visa. So that's a working visa, I think. This is a much more complicated process. But basically, yes, you can apply for a green card and eventually citizenship. It will probably take around 3 to 5 years after residency before you can apply for green card. Apply, okay, not approved, apply. So yes, eventually you can become a US citizen if that's what you want. But you can also go back to your home country after your training and apply whatever you learned in the US in your own practice. So now I want to clarify a few things that I'm sure that some of you will be confused about. First is you can take these exams in any order. Some people take the Step 2 CS first because that's a practical exam and slots are limited and that's the only schedule they got. So that's okay. And then some people would take Step 1 first, and then CS first, and then CK, whatever, as long as you have all the scores, ideally by September 15. And then you can also take these exams even while you're still in med school in the Philippines, if you can. It's very hard, pero technically you can. You don't even have to do your PGI year, your internship year. And you don't even have to pass the local boards for you to apply for USMLE. Some people don't take it anymore. They just focus on the STEP exams. But I also know someone who took the steps first and then he took the March boards in the Philippines. So that's an option as well. Now, if you're already a resident or you're done with training in the Philippines, unfortunately, that's not recognized officially in the US. So you still have to take all the same exams, all the same steps, and do residency training again. However, if you do your residency in the US, then that training is recognized in the Philippines. You don't have to do residency again in the Philippines. You just have to take and pass the local oral and diplomate boards. Now, if you don't want to do residency in the US, just fellowship, it's still possible, but you still have to do the steps, all of it. And it's also much harder to get in because while it's hard for us foreign grads to get a residency slot, it's even harder, even for American grads, to get a fellowship slot. I mean, that's already fellowship, so that's much more competitive. But take note that if you only do fellowship but not residency in the US, then you can't practice medicine in the US. All you can do is take that fellowship training back home and use it back home. So to practice medicine in the US, you have to do residency in the US. And then for the specialties that you can apply to, well, you can apply to anything, but based on the previous data, historically, IMGs, foreign grads, mostly get the primary care specialties. So that's internal medicine, family medicine, pediatrics, psychiatry, pathology recently. But if you want more data on that and the factors that they consider for you to get an invite, for you to match, then check out the document below. They have a full-on study every year about the outcomes of each match. Because a lot of times you will be guided and also misguided in this whole journey. So it's best for us to refer to actual data. So that's the overview. So now I want to discuss the costs, what I spent so far to get here. My gosh. Okay, so I remember spending $75 to make an online account. And then step 1 exam is $940 if you take it in the US, plus $150 if you take it in the Philippines. Same for step 2 CK. So $940 plus $150 is $1,090. And you pay this online with a credit card. Step 2 CS, the clinical skills, the practical exam is more expensive and you can only take it in 5 places in the US. That's $1,580. Pikit mata, bayad sa credit card, yes? And then, of course, you have to go to the US to take that exam. So my flight is always around $800 to $1,000. And I've been lucky because I always get to stay with the relatives and friends for free while I'm studying and doing my exams, but it's not the same for all other applicants. A lot of them rent Airbnbs for months at a time. Of course, they have to pay for their own food and transpo. So that depends on you already. And let's not forget the reviewers. Reviewers and mock exams are also very expensive. For step 1, everyone uses UWorld. That's $419 for 6 months. And then each mock exam is like $60, and I took 4 mock exams. And this is not required, but you can also take a review course. I did in New York. If you think that you're really gonna need it, then that's gonna cost you additional $1,500. So that's just for all the exams. Now, if you're gonna apply to programs, typically foreign grads apply to at least 100 programs. It costs this much to apply to these programs. All in one click, $3,000, bye-bye. But for me, I only applied to 71 and only to 1 specialty because I really researched and I know what I wanted in a program, and also because I'm very kuripot. Now, if you get invited to these programs, then you also have to spend for your airfare, your hotel, whatever you eat, your transpo. So you probably will spend $400 to $500 per interview, especially if in their different places and you have to travel. So for the cost, I haven't really calculated my spendings yet, the total. But I know that just for the exams, I spent around $5,000 already, and for the rest of the application process, maybe around another $5,000. So it depends on you on how you're going to budget and what you will spend on and scrimp on. This is a very difficult process, especially for us foreign grads. But in a nutshell, I guess if you want to really strengthen your application, well, first of all, you have to have not just a passing score, but an excellent score, an above average score, and also have some US clinical experience. This is hard to get, especially if you're already a graduate. So if you still can arrange this during your clerkship, make sure you have rotations in the US. And then, if not, like me, I only did observerships, so I just made the most out of those clinical observerships, because what's important is that you get letters of recommendation from your US doctors. And another way to amp up your application is to have research, to have teaching experience, publications, work experience, volunteer work, anything that you can discuss authentically in your personal statement, or most especially in your interviews, which is, by the way, the most important thing, your performance during the interviews. So I guess that's pretty much it. If you want to learn more about what I went through, then check out my other videos. I have this playlist called Proud Pinoy IMG. Everything is there. And it looks like a very, very long and difficult journey, but it can be done. I mean, I'm not there yet, but I believe that it can be done. Oh my gosh, itong papel na to, ito na ang pinakamahal na bagay na pag-aari ko ngayon, ha? 500,000 itong papel na to. I know that you guys will have a lot more questions, so just check the links in the description. There are Facebook groups that you can join as well. And if you want to add anything to the discussion, just comment below. And if I helped you in any way, please click thumbs up and subscribe. I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.